His promise wasn't to have meetings and to read off talking points. His promise was an affordable Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving is now 6 days away, and turkeys are going for $120.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Today was the first question period with Greg Fergus as the Speaker of the House. Everyone was better behaved than usual today, but that didn't stop Pierre from ruining Justin's Thanksgiving appetite by reminding him of his grocery bill promise.
This Sunday, we will be having our weekly live stream where we welcome back our special guest, Krusty Canuck, from the Krusty Canuck podcast. It's always an interesting, if not hilarious, discussion when we get together with Krusty, so we hope you're looking forward to it as much as we are. Help us keep this channel growing strong by hitting that like button to push this out to more viewers, and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of our next episode. If you would like to support the channel, check out the description of this video for more details. Now let's get into it.
It is not worth the cost. According to the National Payroll Institute, there is a, quote, financial storm gathering. They also describe it as a national emergency, as 63% of Canadians are spending their entire paycheck, and 30%, are spending more than their paycheck, forced to eat up their savings or go into debt. Will the Prime Minister reverse his inflationary debt and taxes so that Canadians can eat, heat, and house themselves?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
So we shouldn't be investing to have Canadians' backs through the pandemic, that we shouldn't be there for families. And they continue to say we shouldn't be sending low and middle income Canadians support to send their kids to the dentist. We're going to continue to be there for Canadians because we know people are facing challenging times because of the global context. That's why we're building thousands more homes by cutting the GST on construction of new apartments. We're creating thousands of good middle class jobs and cleaning our environment with projects like Northvolt in Quebec. And we're making life more affordable for Canadians by working to stabilize grocery prices and having delivered the grocery rebate. We've got lots more to do, and we're going to keep doing it for Canadians.
Hear, hear.
Thanks, Trudeau. You take our money and then you give it to other people. People that apparently we've never heard of because we can't get to a comment of somebody who has actually received any of this money.
Yeah, I'm going to throw up another poll in our community section, and you tell us if you received a grocery rebate or not.
Yeah, I'm very interested. And, you know, even if it's $10, you know, answer that as a yes, I received something, because we're very interested.
Because most people in our comments have always been telling us, no, I haven't received anything at all. Now,
if you noticed, Pierre did not say NDP Liberal government, did not say Liberal government. He said Prime Minister this time. I don't believe that's an accident.
No, it's because Trudeau was actually in the House to take some blame for once.
He's actually in the House, but remember, what is coming up this week?
That motion from the Conservatives regarding the carbon tax.
Correct. So what he is going to be doing is using the language of the Prime Minister to drive home who the Atlantic members of Parliament actually work for. Is it the Prime Minister or is it their constituents?
And again, you can see Pierre when he's speaking, he's looking directly at the camera. He's not looking at the speaker. He's looking at us.
So he's talking to Canadians. He's talking to Atlantic Canadians and trying to remind them, listen, it's crunch time, so your MPs better know who they report to. That reminder that we put in our other video about Greg Fergus getting elected, about where the House of Commons came from, that was no accident either. This is all just a well thought out strategic plan by the Conservatives, just laying the groundwork, laying the orbital strategy, and in my opinion, it's so well done. Because it's just layer on top of layer on top of layer of strategy that they're using to just illustrate to Canadians that the Liberals do not have their best interests.
Yeah, it's surgical. And the Liberals are going to be accusing the Conservatives of getting people riled up and getting people upset. People are already riled up. People are already upset. People can't afford to live in this country anymore.
And you know what? People are allowed to be angry at their government. It's hard to be a politician right now, Trudeau. Cry me a river.
Please don't keep doing the thing he's doing, Mr. Speaker. In fact, he talks about grocery prices. A month ago, he held a big photo op where he claimed that he would stabilize grocery prices before Thanksgiving. Well, the news is out that a Thanksgiving turkey now costs as much as $120 for one. Wow. Mr. Speaker, it is now 6 days until Thanksgiving. Will the Prime Minister promise to bring the price of turkey back down to normal levels before people eat the turkey on Monday?
Yeah, Trudeau. 6 days, bud. You boasted, all of this rhetoric about the grocery chains are going to answer to me and we're demanding that they present a plan before Thanksgiving to bring down food prices. How's that coming, bud?
Yeah, TikTok.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A number of weeks ago, our Minister of Industry brought together the heads of all the large grocery chains in Canada to address directly the challenges of Canadians facing around high food prices. It is not right that Canadians be as squeezed as they are right now, and that's why we're taking action. We continue to also take action on investing in housing as Canadians need more and more supply, which is why we've eliminated the GST on new rental construction, why we've incentivized communities to move forward on greater densification. We're continuing to respond to the needs of Canadians.
Trudeau is having you believe that it's the CEOs of the grocery chain's fault that groceries are so expensive. Do not believe him. We did a few weeks ago videos where we showed you guys the breakdown and the profit margins of some of the big grocery chains. It's staying pretty steady around 4 or 5%. That's not a lot of profit. Those are like razor thin profit margins. But Trudeau is going to have you believe that it's their fault. Instead, he's trying to hide the fact that it's the fault of the carbon tax. The farmers have to pay the carbon tax. And then the truckers who bring the produce from the farms to the grocery store have to pay that tax. And then you're paying the tax on the food. And then when you have to take the food home, it's just tax upon tax upon tax. Of course the food is going to be more expensive.
Yeah, it's basic economics, and he can't get away from it. And the fact that he doesn't even address the question, what a surprise. But, remember Karina Gold when she was saying, the Conservatives has this habit of not answering questions when they're put towards them. Pretty sure in question period, the Conservatives ask the questions you guys are supposed to answer, which you don't.
That wasn't his promise. His promise wasn't to have meetings and to read off talking points. His promise was an affordable Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving is now 6 days away, and turkeys are going for $120, Mr. Speaker. $120 at some outlets. Canadians cannot afford to eat, heat, or house themselves. So can he tell us, given that it was his promise to create an affordable Thanksgiving dinner, how much will that dinner cost an average family of 4 this Monday? How much?
Le 13 honorable Premier Ministre.
Mr. Speaker, as we've seen consistently, Canadians are facing real challenges. That is why we have consistently stepped up with measures to support Canadians, whether it's bringing in...
Sorry, I can't listen to that anymore.
Because, of course, he doesn't provide an actual answer.
Like, it's so disrespectful to Canadians. Like, that's what I think all of you feel when he starts standing up, and that's why you can't listen to him talk. And we feel the same thing. It is so difficult to listen.
Well, and it's ridiculous because he doesn't understand that anybody can go onto Parleview or CPAC and watch these videos. They're accessible to everyone now. It's not the old days where you had to go to Parliament and physically get the transcript. This information is available to everyone, and everybody knows that you're dodging questions.
And it's just completely disrespectful to all the Canadians out here that are struggling. Have some self-respect.
Canadians shouldn't have believed this finance minister when she said, borrow as much as you want. Interest rates will be low for a very long time. Because she turned around and threw hundreds of billions of dollars of fuel on the inflationary fire, giving Canadians the worst inflation in 40 years and the most rapid interest rate hikes not seen in the last 30 years. Anyone who took out a mortgage 5 years ago at 2% will now have to renew at 6 or 7%. That's an increase of more than 200%. Will this Prime Minister rein in his inflationary deficits so interest rates come down, or does he want people to start losing their homes?
Here, here.
Mr. Speaker, yet again, misleading comments from the Conservatives. The reality is Canada's AAA rating has been reaffirmed year after year that we have been in government. We have the lowest deficit in the G7 and the lowest debt to GDP ratio. We also know we are a growing country, and a growing country needs to build more homes faster. That is exactly what we are doing by lifting the GST on purpose-built rental, by making more financing available through CMHC, $200 billion for $20 billion for financing of new rental construction.
All I can think of right now is Stephen Harper's words just ringing in my ears about Justin Trudeau should not be running a deficit right now. And believe me, his deficits will be huge.
And Trudeau's deficits will not be small. He said the budget will balance itself.
That man is a prophet.
Yeah, he predicted this whole thing. This whole thing. Think about how much better of a position we would be in financially in Canada if the Conservatives had kept going. You would have had a balanced budget, meaning you would have had low interest rates.
And low inflation.
And low home costs. Like, we still would have had inflation, but not to this degree.
You wouldn't be paying $120 for a turkey.
You sure wouldn't.
The ratings she brags about came at the high cost of 1 in 5 Canadians skipping meals and 7 million Canadians visiting a food bank in a single month. She's completely out of touch, but in line with her incompetent government's legacy. This finance minister was doing victory laps 2 months ago, saying that she stopped inflation. It went up 43% since then. What did she think was going to happen when she added $1.2 billion of debt in the first quarter of this fiscal year alone? Will the Prime Minister rein in his inflationary spending, or does he think that, too, is not one of his responsibilities?
You don't often hear a zinger from Pierre's shadow finance minister.
And you don't hear Pierre often going, whoa, and standing up to, congratulate him. That was beautiful.
It was, because it's serious. Great, you have a AAA credit rating. Congratulations.
It does nothing for the average Canadian.
Well, and you have 1 in 5 Canadians going to the food bank, and the food banks are running out of food. Hello? And who's going to restock the food? The people that have no money left at the end of their paycheck? The 63% of Canadians? Or the 30% that have to borrow at the end of their paycheck? What is wrong with you people? But everything's fine. We have a AAA credit rating.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are hitting new lows in this question period. Not only are they misleading, they are internally contradictory and incomprehensible. I think the member opposite just said that our AAA rating is disadvantageous to hardworking Canadians. I beg to differ, Mr. Speaker. Our AAA rating is a foundation for everything our government is doing to build more homes, to provide more support to hardworking Canadian middle-class families, Mr. Speaker. Time for the Conservatives to get that.
So I, a housewife who has no formal training in finance or economics or anything like that, knows more than the finance minister, apparently, because that AAA credit rating, again, has nothing to do with Canadians.
Correct.
But it has to do with how much that the government can borrow.
Correct.
So if they borrow more, the deficit's bigger. And then that puts us, Canadians, on the hook for their inflationary spending.
Correct.
So how does that benefit us at all? It doesn't.
All it does is cause more inflation, which causes the Bank of Canada to increase the interest rates, which accelerates a forthcoming housing crisis. And I mean housing crisis. We're in a housing crisis now. Just wait till all these Canadians lose their homes because of the mortgage. And again, All these Canadians took a variable mortgage back when Freeland said, it'll be fine. Mortgage rates will be low for a while. Trudeau was saying, go ahead and borrow. We're borrowing so you don't have to.
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
So a lot of Canadians took a variable mortgage back then. Guess who was wishing they didn't take a variable mortgage now?
The honourable member from Haldimand, Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Prime Minister, Canadians, millions of Canadians are struggling to pay the rent. Last month, TVA Nouvelle reported that a single mother with 3 children was forced to abandon her mold-infested apartment and live in a garage because she cannot afford to pay the rent anymore. She described the experience as hell. This Prime Minister just is not worth the cost. What is this NDP Liberal government going to say to this single mother of 3 who cannot afford to pay the rent anymore and who's descending into depression?
L'honorable vice-première ministre et ministre des Finances.
Mr. Speaker, what we're going to say to that single mother is you cannot afford the Conservatives and their austerity that will make your life worse. What we're going to say is our government has helped to lift 2.3 million Canadians out of poverty. What we're going to say is our early learning and childcare program has cut childcare fees by 50% across the country already. We're down to $10 a day in 4 provinces. We will take no lessons from the Conservatives when it comes to helping the most vulnerable.
Wow. So this Conservative MP is saying that one of my constituents had to leave her apartment because, well, number one, it was dangerous, it was mold infested, but more importantly, that she couldn't afford to pay for it and had to go live in a garage with her 3 children. And Freeland is saying, oh, things are going to get worse under the Conservatives?
Yeah, so I had seen this part already. And right after the Conservative MP spoke, Fox was like, I want to speak after this. I have a point to make. And I said, you're going to change your point.
Yeah, and I definitely changed my point. Because my point was going to be, and I'll say it now, was that we see it in the comments very often that, oh, writing to my MP isn't going to do anything. They do read them. Their staff reads them. They read them. And they take stories like that and they bring them to the House, or if they're getting a lot of stories about a particular thing, then they'll know that's an area they need to focus on. So you might not get a response, but please believe me that when I say, when you write to your MP, it is doing something.
It is absolutely doing something. And it breaks my heart when I hear Freeland say crap like that. Like, so the question was, what are you going to say to that single mother that is going through all of that? Probably the worst time in her life, thinking she failed her family, failed her kids, and has to go live in a garage.
That's probably not heated. What's going to happen this winter?
Like the shame she must be feeling, right?
And the panic, the concern for her children.
And so imagine this situation. Freeland rocks up to her house in her BMW that she's being driven in because she keeps telling us she didn't have a car. And she knocks on the garage door. Up goes the garage door. Hi, miss, I understand you're having a problem. I just want you to know that that you would be way worse off with the Conservatives. I just want you to know that. What do you think that response would be? You think it would be, oh, you're so right? My bet is it's not going to be a friendly one. Let us know in the comments.